Welcome to Strange TV, where the ordinary ends and the extraordinary begins. Tonight, we delve into the chilling story of the Black-Eyed Children, a tale of horror that will leave you questioning the darkness that lurks in the shadows. It was a quiet evening in a small suburban neighborhood. The streets were empty, and the only sound was the faint rustling of leaves in the wind. But something strange was about to happen, something that would change one man's life forever. John was sitting in his living room, watching TV, when he heard a knock at the door. It was soft at first, almost hesitant. He paused the TV and listened. The knock came again, louder this time. He got up and walked to the door, wondering who could be visiting so late. John opened the door to find two children standing on his porch. They looked no older than 10, dressed in plain clothes. But something was wrong. Their eyes were completely black, like voids. The children smiled and asked, "Can we come in? We need help." John felt a wave of dread wash over him. The children's voices were calm, but their black eyes seemed to pierce through him. He stepped back and said, "I'm sorry, I can't help you." The children's smiles faded, and they repeated, "Please let us in." John's instincts screamed at him to close the door. He slammed it shut and locked it, his heart pounding. He leaned against the door, trying to catch his breath. But then he heard it, the knocking again, louder and more insistent. The children's voices echoed through the door. "Let us in. We need your help." John backed away from the door, his eyes darting around the room. He heard a tapping sound and turned to the window. The children were there, their black eyes staring at him through the glass. They smiled and said, "We're still here. Let us in." John grabbed his phone and called the police. He told them about the children, his voice shaking. The dispatcher assured him help was on the way. But as he hung up, he heard the children's voices again. This time, inside the house. "We're already here," they whispered. The police arrived minutes later. They searched the house but found no trace of the children. John tried to explain, but the officers looked at him with suspicion. As they left, one officer said, "You should get some rest, sir." But John knew what he had seen, and he knew the children would be back. One evening, John's neighbor Lisa came over to check on him. She had heard about his ordeal and wanted to offer support, but as they talked, Lisa revealed something chilling. She had seen the Black-Eyed Children too. They had appeared at her door a week ago, asking to come in. She had refused, but they hadn't left. They were still outside, watching her house every night. Determined to find answers, John and Lisa began researching the Black-Eyed Children. They discovered countless stories online. People from all over the world had encountered them. The children always appeared at night, asking to be let in. Those who refused were haunted, while those who let them in were never seen again. John and Lisa reached out to a paranormal expert, Dr. Emily Carter, who had studied the Black-Eyed Children for years. Dr. Carter agreed to help, but she warned them the children were not human. They were something else, something ancient and malevolent, and they didn't like being ignored. Dr. Carter suggested a plan. They would set up cameras around John's and Lisa's homes to capture evidence of the children. But she warned them not to engage. If they ask to come in, don't answer. If they knock, don't open the door. And whatever you do, don't look into their eyes. That night, John and Lisa watched the camera feeds from their homes. At first, everything was quiet. But then, around midnight, the cameras picked up movement. The Black-Eyed Children were there, standing outside John's house. They knocked on the door and whispered, "Let us in." John's heart raced as he watched the feed, but he stayed silent. The next night, the children returned, but this time, they were outside Lisa's house. They knocked on her door and whispered, "We know you're watching us. Let us in." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine as she watched the feed. She wanted to scream, but she stayed silent, just as Dr. Carter had advised. On the third night, the children appeared at both houses at the same time. They knocked on the doors and whispered, "We're tired of waiting. Let us in." John and Lisa watched in horror as the children began to pound on the doors, their black eyes glowing in the dark. The cameras started to glitch and the feeds went static. John and Lisa met with Dr. Carter the next day, desperate for answers. Dr. Carter explained that the children were growing more aggressive because they were being ignored. She suggested one final plan, a ritual to banish them, but it would be dangerous. If it doesn't work, she warned, they'll come for all of us. John, Lisa, and Dr. Carter performed the ritual that night. They lit candles, chanted ancient words, and hoped for the best. But as the final words were spoken, the candles flickered and the room grew cold. The black-eyed children appeared, their eyes glowing with rage. "You can't get rid of us," they whispered. And then everything went dark. Thank you for watching Strange TV. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more tales of the strange and terrifying. Until next time, remember, the world is darker than you think.